One of the things I want to talk about is, um, what is this whole thing we're talking about with data and with design and with empathy and marketing, right? All of these topics actually go together. And I'll tell you why they go together. So one of my favorite topics is from one of our old partners called Domo, and it's called Data Never Sleeps. And Data Never Sleeps is really great because what it shows is how much data goes through every platform every minute, right? So what happens is at every platform you're designing for, whether you're designing apps, say you're designing a special app for, for the web, right? You have to kind of look at what is your metric, right? What are the things you're going to do? How are you going to design it? And then what kind of data is actually going to be received, right? So it's not just like, okay, I want to make this app as pretty and then let's pray, right? Let's put that message in a bottle and hope they show up. We actually have to think about what it is that we're serving up to customers, right? And what's the metric? So you can see here that on Google, we're looking at, how many watches, right? How many views we have for data, right? So we can look and say YouTube has 4,500 view, 4,500, 4.5 million views per minute. Yeah, so every single minute of the day, right? They have 4,500 views. If we look at Instagram, and these are actually 2019 numbers, so there's 2021 still. Instagram, we've had almost over 250,000 stories post per minute, right? Grubhub receives 8,608, or was receiving 8,683 orders per minute, right? Netflix, users are viewing 694,444 hours of video every minute. Right. So that means that volume of video is actually going through the Netflix system every single minute. Right. And so on and so forth. So the point of this is you have to think about when you design your app, when you think about using the Android ecosystem, when you think about posting things on Google Play, which we're going to talk about next. When you think about marketing, you think about UX design, you have to think about how things are going to happen, right? So the other thing that's going to be interesting for your design and for your marketing is, what is your core metric? What is the action, the one action that you're really bottom line wanting the user to do? Right? Is it viewing something? Is it clicking on something? Is it posting something? Is it linking to something, right? Or is it all of the above? Is there a user journey they need to go on? But think about what actions you want them to do, and then what is the throughput that you're going to support in those actions, right? And that's key to the design. One of the things we do at Data 360 is we focus on what we call stages of commitment. So during App Camp, one of the things we'll be talking about this tomorrow as well when we talk about sales and MVPs, is we talk about how do you get a customer to move from contact to internalization, right? How do you get them committed to what you're building? How do you put that together, right? And as you build a business, right, this may take many, many years. But you want to be prepared for these conversations in advance, right? And then you want to accelerate them as quickly as possible. You may have early adopters that do it quickly. You may have late adopters and everything, but you may have laggards that take, like I said, many, many years. So you want to prepare for how do you take people from contact to awareness, understanding? How do you get them out of unawareness? How do you keep them out of confusion, negative perceptions, inactions, right? And there's a whole ecosystem for every single one of these phases, right? Both the positive and the negative versions of each of these phases. And that's something you have to prepare for. And so one of the other things you want to take into account is what's called behavioral design. So during App Camp, we'll also be going over behavioral design, the 3Bs. This is from a group called Irrational Labs that Google also uses and a number of companies use. But how do you begin to change behavior for good reasons, right? And how do you do that behavioral design? And so there are many, many different kinds of frameworks that you can do that are in every single guide that we're going to go over during app camp, right? And so you'll notice when we talk about behavioral design, we talk about any of these things, you keep hearing collect data, collect data, collect data. So that's why what the service that Data 360 provides is so important, is because collecting the data is the number one thing that happens, and it's actually the number one thing that people get wrong. So we want to make sure that you have the great fundamentals along with all these other pieces, and we put them together in the right way. And then once we do that, we can start to look at the behavior of your audience and be able to design, market, and put together the right data for what you're wanting to do, right? And big data helps you optimize that, because computers can see millions of things that you can't see. So they can see behaviors and people and places and things that you just can't do by just like surfing around. So that's why big data becomes super important. And then you can learn the behavior, the barriers, and the benefits of the change you're trying to create by building your service, right? So your service, your product is trying to create some kind of change, right? So it's better, faster, cheaper for whatever reasons. And then we got to get people to believe and behave in the ways that benefit your product. So how do we do that, right? And that's where we begin to track behavior, barriers, and benefits, right? And be able to move your audience across that change funnel.